Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening to all my UK friends. What's happening? Welcome back to Thursday Live. I'm Steve Leahy. How's everything going? Just drove back in from a big family reunion. Oh, I'm going to say hello to everyone. Franz, what's up? Enzo, what's happening? Oh, I got the comments right here now so I can see them. Yeah, just drove back in yesterday, so it was a good time with the family. Hung out, got to see a lot of people. You never get to see everyone, which was, which is good because it sets us up for next time, which is always good too. I had everything kind of ready to go for this week, except for a couple things. So I got to do a few more videos for this week, but other than that, it's going good. So what we have going on today or tonight, depending on where you are, is when I was back at home, the company Coppersound, the company that makes those guitar pedals, those really cool guitar pedals, had two brand new pedals out. I was just checking to make sure the microphone is on. Paul, what's up? Bobby, what's going on? Philip, hello. Ryan, what's going on? So yeah, so they, if you can hear me, let me know, by the way, because I've been known to do that as well. So they have two brand new pedals. They're a guitar company, or the company that makes these guitar effects pedals. And I've known them for a long time, and they're good friends. And every time they come out with a new one, I vandalize it, so I paint all over it. So they came out with two new ones. I happened to be in Massachusetts where they were, so I visited the shop and picked up two new cases. So we're going to do one of those today. It'll be a lot of fun. So that's what I got. That's what I got for that. So hopefully you're having a good week so far. And this Thursday, it feels like Monday to me. Actually, I don't know what day it feels like, but that's okay. Let's switch things around and we'll get right into painting. All right, hold on. Loud and clear. Excellent. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Let's move this over here. Actually, what I may do, chicken over here, that's my notes on all that stuff. All right. What I may want to do first, let me quickly show you all the 543s from last week. I have the regular lens in now. Hopefully the hopefully the autofocus is going to play nice. If not, we'll figure it out. So Monday I had all the 543s ready to go. As actually I have all the 543s ready to go for next Monday too, because I knew it'd be crazy. So those are cool. They're sitting over there on the bench. You can't see them yet. You got to come back Monday if you want to see them on Facebook. But last Mondays were fun. So the first one was, I'm not going to remember who did these, because I don't have the notes. But I know this one was Gary Shees. Let's see if I can focus that. If autofocus is going to play games with me, I'm going to take care of that. There we go. All right. So Gary Shees had asked for a hand water pump. And so he also asked for the trough that the water goes into, but I didn't have enough time. So I just did the water pump. So that's how that one came out. Now, all of these are available on my site. If you don't know what these are, every Monday I take suggestions from everyone. And during the week, I pick 5 of those suggestions and do paintings from those. And then anyone who made a suggestion is eligible to win one of the paintings the following week. So if you want to get in on that, you can jump over on Facebook and do that. If you just want to flat out get one of these paintings, these are all on my website. And I discount all these 543s from what they usually are, just because I have time to do them, I can control them, and that kind of fun stuff. So, so they're always a good deal for those. We did this one live on YouTube, actually. This is the stop ad. I'm gonna turn that off. That's manual is much better for that. This is of course King Arthur and the Black Knight. None shall pass. So that's where I did this one here with you guys. The end of June, I think we did this because this was me getting ready for the trips, which I only ended up taking one. So this is the HO223. This is the late World War II jet that didn't quite make the war for the Germans. There were only 3 of these built, which is good for the Allies, because had this plane been mass produced, it would have changed a lot of things, having a jet fighter in World War II. So this, the body of this, the fuselage, not the wings, but the center part of this, is on display at the National Air and Space Museum in the United States. It was part of that whole Project Paperclip. So that's that one. What else we got? The MG. So this is my little MG, not my MG, it's actually my cousin's MG. When we were growing up, he had this car, and he was talking about painting, and I don't know if he ever did, but he was always talking about putting these stripes, the stripes you see down on the bottom. That's what he wanted to do to it. So when I got the suggestion to do a 71 MG, I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the stripes on it for him. So that's how that one came out. These are all 3 inches by 4 inches, and I've had, one of the common questions is how the name of these came up. I call them 543s. So it's really simple. They're all 4 inches by 3 inches, and I do 5 of them a week. Really not too crazy of a naming process there. And then finally is First Nations. This is the Pacific Northwest of North America. It was the first area where indigenous people were kind of settled as they came across the Bering Strait, as they first started to settle North America. So I call this one First Nations, and they carve these amazing, sometimes 60-foot tall totems, and just crazy. They describe family, they describe events. They're usually made from red cedar, and just pretty amazing. So I enjoy doing this one a lot. So those are the 5. All right, I know. You're like, I thought we came here to watch painting. And you are, and we will. But first, even before that, I'm having cheers with you guys because I haven't had, I just need it. So anyway, this is my very last flyaway that I brought back. Actually, I only brought back one because I forgot I had it. And this is from Shoveltown Brewery, which is in Easton, Massachusetts. And Easton is known as Shoveltown because the big kind of big entrepreneur in Easton back in the 1800s was the Ames family. And if you're, I think they sell them everywhere, but they do sell them in the United States still. Ames made shovels, and lots of shovels, and they reportedly sold them to both sides of the Civil War. So the Ames family made a lot of money, and since then Easton has always been known as Shoveltown. So there's a brewery there, and they make amazing beers, and this is one of my favorites of all times, and this one's called Flyaway, and it's just a really good one. So there we go. Cody Adams, what's up? All right. I know. Get to painting. Let me move you in close. But first, yeah, there we go. I could talk too. Before I do that, let me show you what we're working with here. So this is the Iris pedal, and I'm going to show you the case in a second to give you scale for this. What the Iris pedal is a compressor pedal. It's an optical compressor pedal. So for those who don't play guitar or a musician or do sound engineering, you know, sound has frequencies. Sound is frequencies. So what happens is with some instruments, some of those frequencies are louder than others, are you know, just kind of pop out, and some are not loud enough. So what a compressor does like this is it squishes down those high frequencies and it boosts up the low frequencies and just kind of smooths out the signal. Makes it really kind of not monotonous, but it just kind of removes those extremes. And this allows you to do that. What's really cool about this is it is studio quality, but when I show you this, it's teeny weeny. So that's really cool too. The old compressors used to be gigantic. And this is just really neat. And it has an optical circuit in it, hence the name Iris. So that's what it looks like when you get it from Coppersound. Drop my paintbrush, hold on. There we go. Red wine, but cheers. Awesome, Adrian, I like that. That's good. All right, so what I did was I grabbed the pedal, and let me show you this. What I started doing was grabbing some 2000 grit sandpaper, and I was bound and determined to get at least the top smooth. I wasn't sure what we were going to do with it as far as the painting at that point, but I knew I needed to get the letters off because I'm going to put the paint on that. These pedals, these pedals are powder coated, and the company that does the powder coating does an amazing job. The letters, the graphics on it are UV cured, either powder or ink or whatever it is, but it's It's insane. It's extremely strong stuff. It has some body to it, which is amazing. So, and it's pretty much indestructible. Now, the idea is you put this on the ground and you plug your guitar into it, and then you actually step on it. So it needs to be really durable. But anyway, I knew I'd have a hard time getting the stuff off. You can't just take lacquer thinner and wipe it off. This pedal, as you'll see, has a kind of a unique base coat to it. It's white, but it also has this silver sparkle to it. So I really wanted to kind of preserve that. So sanding is the way to go. I figured I'd get the least amount of damage to the base coat if I just used like 2000 grit on it. And it did a pretty good job. That's what I came out with. So now you will notice at the top and the bottom, you can still see that sparkle. So I did end up sanding off a lot of that sparkle, which I will deal with when we paint it. That's not super important. Actually, I'm amazed that I got it to that point. Yeah, and that's all with 2000 grit sandpaper. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to break through the powder coating down to the aluminum because then I have to paint the whole thing. So this also keeps the original color too. And Coppersound is excellent at branding. So all their pedals kind of have a color to them. And then that's known, you know, across the board. So that's how that works. All right, so now you are caught up. Let's switch back to this one. And I'll get that for that, so won't need that anymore. All right, so here is the pedal. This is where we're at right now. Back up a little bit. So here it is. So if I tilt this just the right way, you can kind of see that silvery sparkle. It was really just, and then, again, this is powder coating, and I didn't know you could do this with powder coating, but there you have it. And you also notice how I have the white base, and you can see that silver, you know, the kind of silver sparkle there. But what I did was, it's difficult to see, but what I did was to kind of bridge the gap between where I sanded it and where I did not sand it. Jump out a little bit and focus that up. Is I used a really old bottle of I had a Hot Rod Sparkle White. So this is, I mean, if you buy the new Auto Air Sparkle, Hot Rod Sparkle, it's going to look a lot different. This is a really old bottle, but it still works. And this had the same kind of flake to size and coloration that the pedal had on it. So what I did was I sprayed this basically over the whole middle of it. And then after that, and I don't talk about this stuff a lot, but it is really, really cool stuff. Now I talk about Autoborn Sealer a lot, but this Autoborn Sealer is just is transparent. It doesn't have any pigment in it. This stuff rocks if you want to base something, but you want to retain the color that's underneath. So say even I had like a gray piece of paper, but I wanted to put Autoborn Sealer on it, and I didn't want to use gray or white or black or any of those. You can seal it with the transparent, and it's transparent, so it shows the color through it. So it's a really, really great product, and I don't talk about it a lot because I'm usually using the gray or the white. But that's what I put on here. I put 4 coats, and then I sanded all that, and that's why it's kind of matte finish. So now you are completely caught up. All right, if you have any questions, just yell them out. I'm going to move this. I don't want to do this. I'm going to do this like this for you guys. So you'll be kind of at an angle, but, oops, did I unscrew that too much? I did. You can be kind of at an angle, but it'll work. Actually, let's move it back a little bit. Can you tell I've been away? I'm like, how does this work? I don't know. How does that work? Here we go. Let's move that in to about there. I have the regular lens, not the jumbo lens, because this way I can back out too now, so you can see the whole thing. All right, and I'm going to open this can because that's important. So cheers to you all. Welcome back. All right. And what I decided to do on this one, so, yeah, let me jump back one more quick time just so I can show you one more thing, because it'll make a difference. All right. So what I usually do with the Coppersound pedals is I'll take their branding, their logo that they have on it, and then I'll build off of that. Sometimes it's just building off the name. Sometimes it's building off the actual logo, and that's what I wanted to do with this one. So the Iris obviously is a play on words because it's an optical pedal, and they've got the eye kind of in the middle of that gauge there, the meter. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to kind of run with that. And blue is important to this pedal, so I'm going to include that. So I'll show you what I ended up deciding to do here. Let me grab it. It is There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very beautiful female eye and I'm going to put it right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, almost like she has a tattoo of all the gauge lines, like the needle and the red line and all the tick marks and the other things that are on the petal. So I'm going to do that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to basically kind of work on the eye. I don't know if I'll get it all done today, but I'll get a good bunch done. So I thought that would fit really well. So what I did was, this is, you see the black corners in the photocopy. I took the eye and, you know, kind of moved it around and then figured out, you know, the black corners indicate the kind of usable area of the front of this petal. And then I just kind of adjusted it so that the eye is right in the right spot. So it's not going to be, you know, behind the on and off switch or the switch down here or anywhere near the top switches either. So it'll kind of float in the middle. Is 2,000 grit enough for the Ottoborn seal to do 400? Dan, that's an excellent question, and my answer to that is it depends. It depends on what you're doing with it. If you have enough layers of the Ottoborn sealer on there, you can certainly really hit it with 400. But I find it goes on so nicely, I never really have to use 400. Generally, I mean, maybe 800, maybe 600. To kind of really just smooth it out. But then when I go to do the 543s, and I want it really, really smooth. So for the 543s, I sand it with 1500 and then hit it with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. And that's what gives me, I don't have one sitting here that's already ready, but that's what gives me, you know, that really smooth finish. In fact, I did that with this. I sanded it with 1500, the transparent sealer, and then I hit it with a little bit of Scotch-Brite, and it gives it just an amazingly super smooth finish. And that's important with the flake. I mean, there's flake under there too. So I don't want to, you know, I don't want it to be all bumpy or anything. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, so I made a ton of these copies. Like that. So just a bunch of copies just to kind of get things started. And I have a color reference here, so I'll keep that off to the side for me. What I think I'm going to do to start with this is, I think I'm gonna I'm gonna cut out the eye, maybe the white and the colored part, use that as a stencil or as a you know, kind of a mask. And then that way I'll put this flesh tone in, because what I have to do is, even though there's sparkle on here, this transition between the powder coated sparkle and my sparkle is obvious. So I want to push the skin tone up into that so I can fade into that so you don't see that transition as much. And that's how I'll kind of cheat to get that done. All right, so let's do it. Let me cut up a couple of these. I'm going to put the cutting mat off to the side there so you guys can kind of follow along with the cutting as well. So it was great being home. It's a decent drive from here, and I like to drive because, you know, I get to keep on, you know, I bring paintings or whatever, and I had a project cleared by Keith Hansen, so I don't want to, you know, you don't want to fly with that. But it is about 630 miles. So for my UK friends, it would be like driving from like Plymouth to Inverness, or I don't know if you're in Europe, it would be like France to Prague kind of thing. So it takes about 11 hours, but it is a really, really nice drive. I end up cutting across, so I'm in northeast Ohio, which is just under the Great Lakes for those not from these parts. So we're about an hour south of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie actually. And so what I end up doing is driving kind of north, mostly east, but kind of north as well. And it brings me right through the Pocono Mountains, which is lovely. So that's basically, you drive through Pennsylvania, all of Pennsylvania. So, all right, let's get this going. Now this pedal is aluminum, which again presents magnet problems, but we'll figure it out as we go. All right. So yeah, so I think since most of this is flesh color, including underneath the eyebrow, I'm going to start with blocking off just the white parts of the eye. What I really need is a reference point, something that will help me lay everything else out. So that's what this is going to do for me. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, it just has to be enough that it's going to be in the right spot for me. Now, the big question is, how do I get this to stay where it's supposed to stay? And for that, I'm going to use some tape. I have one more roll of this FBS gold mask, and then 3M has sent me a bunch of stuff to try out, and I'm really, really excited about it. So I'm going to be going through that as soon as I run out of the FBS tape. So huge thank you to 3M for thinking of me for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's all kinds of stuff in there too. All right, so I'm going to grab a little loop of tape and just going to roll it over on itself like that. Put it on the knife like that. Try to find, oh, here we go. I don't even have to put it on the knife because it's still attached. So I'm going to go back to the photocopy because it's still kind of stuck in there. And I'm just going to put the loop of tape on the back of the eye like that. So now when I go and flip it over, I have the corners of the petal. So I did want to, when I was looking at this, I do want to drop this down a little bit from what I originally laid it out, because I laid this out on the computer. And sometimes it looks good on the computer, but it's not good in real life. And that's kind of what happened here. So I dropped this down a little bit, maybe about a, oh no, not that far. Oops. I want to drop it down about 1/8 of an inch. So right about, oops, stop sticking. It sticks well. Right about, what about there-ish? So I'll stick that down. And then what I want to do is, so what I don't want, so there's the, actually that might be too low as well. What I want to do, there's a gasket that goes around the switch that kind of sticks out a little bit. So I don't want any of the eye behind that gasket, including this nice shadow that's down here. I don't want any of that. So just going to line it up that way. 650 miles, decent drive. I'm from a mining town in Yorkshire where 50 years ago, 75 miles was a once early expedition to the coast. Exactly. Yeah, gosh. So so I grew up on the East Coast, and the nice thing about the Northeast of the United States, as I'm sure most of the UK is, everything is compact. Like we're 3.5 hours from New York City, where Boston is. So you have these two big cities. Plus, you know, we have the Appalachian Mountains, which are within an hour. The coast, I lived probably realistically about 40 minutes from the coast, but by the way the crow flies, it was much closer than that. So it was nice being all compact. So when I grew up, you didn't have to drive very far to go anywhere. So now being in the Midwest where everything's spread out, I'm like, what the hell? You have to drive 25 minutes to get to the grocery store. It's fun. All right, so that should be in the right spot now. So now I can lift this away and double check. So this is why I do this. If you just look at this, it looks way too low. Like I'd want to put this right in the center, right? But if I do that and ignore, you know, this kind of layout, I do want the eyebrow to be in here as well. So the eyebrow will come in just about here. So that'll just center everything really nicely. As well as, like I said, that shadow under her lower lid just about comes to the edge of that, going to come to the edge of that gasket. So I think that's going to work out really well. All right, and I want to make sure that we're still focused up. Okay, she'll have a blue eye, all that fun stuff, so we'll be good there. All right, so now I'm going to work on the skin tone. That's going to be good. So for the skin tone, I want to get the lightest skin tone that I can pull off here. So this will be the base for the whole thing. So essentially like the 543s, when I use that gray base paint, the color, you know, the sealer as a base, this is the same thing, but it's just a color. It's just a really light, kind of a lighter side skin tone. It'll allow me to add highlights if I have to, but it'll also allow me to put all the darks in. If I try to put in all the darks first and then paint the skin tone, the lighter skin tone, it's going to get all funky because of the blue shift. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to go like to the very lightest because then I have nowhere to put highlights in. So it's somewhere in the middle. Astral, what's up? Can I do this? Sure, why not? Now you get a full I'm gonna get a full view of like how tiny this is. Ah, no, it's in the way. Never mind. Don't get too fancy. All right, let me undo my hose here. Oh, what I could do, I know what I'll do. Hold on. We can do that. I'll just make it not as obnoxiously gigantic. Let's try 30. And let's move this over a little bit. Nope, wrong way. And put up a little bit. This is why I need tech help. I mean, I need a separate tech person to be off the side doing all this. Astral, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Isn't Roger Dean the best? Oh my gosh, and I love just listening to his stories. Holy smoke. And his daughter's adorable. I love his daughter too. It's just a great channel. All right, let's mix up some peach. All right, haven't used this brush in a week, so we're gonna see what happens with it. I actually didn't do any airbrushing. Well, I did a teeny weeny little bit of airbrushing, and that's what I posted yesterday. But I didn't really do any painting while I was gone, and that was great. It worked out well. I wanted to be able to take some time off. Visit with the fam. All right, so what we're going to use is, to get this done, is we're going to use some opaque white, which is just 1 part opaque white to 1 part 4011 reducer. And again, I say all this with caution, and I talked about this in the Tech Tuesday video. The reduction ratios are absolutely specific to the airbrush more than the paint. So I'd say it's 80% airbrush, 20% paint, meaning, you know, how you pay attention to it. Because you could take the Createx opaque white right out of the bottle here, and run it through a brush like the Eclipse CS, and it's going to do amazingly thin, super crazy lines. And that's because this brush has a bigger nozzle in it. It can just handle a little bit thicker paint. It just works better with it. I know I got to clean this. Don't judge me. But with this brush, it's a real tiny nozzle, so it needs a real tiny or a small amount of reduction, or a large amount of reduction. All right, let's move this back where it should be. I'm going to open up my palette here because I'm going to need to get, which you guys can't see because it's off the side. I need a little bit of red oxide for this. So red oxide is a great color. Again, I talk about this a lot. I use red oxide more as an orange than a red. And it also makes a really great skin tone. Burnt umber does too. But red oxide is great because it has a little bit more orange to it. So I'll drop a little bit of that in there, see what we get. Maybe I added too much. I think I did, but that's okay. Yeah, I did add too much, but right off the bat, it's a neat little, like, kind of base skin tone. I mean, you can go a lot of different ways with it. From here, I added too much red oxide, so I'm going to add a bunch more white to lighten that up a little bit. It's going to be a huge waste of paint, but it's okay. All right. How are we doing over here? Oh, look at that. Okay. If the feed gets choppy, this is the internet world punishing me. But I will take care of that if it gets cranky, which it looks like it might. So if the feed starts dropping on me, let me know. I'm going to keep an eye on that. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay, so that's what I got. So with this, I'm just going to put the base in now. So I'm going to paint the entire background. I'm not worried about lights or darks or anything like that. I just want to kind of get a feel for where this stuff needs to be. All right. And if the choppiness is a thing, and if I'll take care of it. So this is a really, really smooth surface because I sanded it with 1500 and then hit it with Scotch-Brite. So I don't want to paint, I can't throw the paint on here because it's so smooth that the paint will just kind of spider web across. So I just take my time with it. Plus, by kind of putting this on in really light layers, I can really control like where I have to fade down into the old sparkle here. I really have a lot of control over that, and that's good. All right, and then all of a sudden, magically, the signal cleared up. All right. Same thing up here. I'm just going to run right up through these. There's a switch here and a light. I think it's a switch and a light. Yeah, and then there's a knob. There's a knob up here that takes up most of the space, but still, I want to blend into where I sanded, so that there's it's not as harsh where I blended it. Now, keep in mind, I also put my sparkle on here too. So if there's an area that didn't quite get covered, that sparkle will take up the slack. And now, hopefully, you can see how light this really is. It might be too light. Let me darken this a little bit for you. Maybe that's better. You get a better feel for what that really looks like. Good. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to do, and I still will, is a community page of YouTubers that I watch a lot. There are a lot of great artists out there that aren't even necessarily airbrush artists that I get a lot from, and I want to share that with everyone too, as well as just the fun ones too. I love a lot of the crazy, especially the mechanic videos. I love those, and I love the conspiracy debunker channels and all that. So I just gotta create a little TV guide like Simon did, but just on the YouTube page. And if I did not say hello to you, hey, what's up? How is everyone doing? So the rest of this is powder coated too, obviously. The reason why I didn't mask any of this off is because I'm not going to get a whole ton of paint flying around everywhere. And if I do, it's really easy to... Well, I can't find my Scotch-Brite pad. It's somewhere in the bin next to me. But it's really easy if I get overspray on this to just really lightly go over it with, again, the 1500 works really well. What I need to be really super careful of with this and this is this I would use to just remove overspray, or the Scotch-Brite pad really. I don't want to dig into this because I don't want to remove the sparkle on this side because then I'm cooked. But what's nice about doing this is I get to retain like their logo. I don't have to repaint that logo. So that works out really, really well. And that's why I don't mask off the side. Plus, I don't really want a hard edge anywhere on this. I want it to just kind of blend out. And that removes also the kind of feel that, oh, that's just a sticker. If it's just cleanly on the top and it's all masked off, it looks like it was just stuck on there. And I don't want that. I can't believe it's August already. I dread the fall. I dread doing leaves. I don't like dealing with leaves. All right, so it's an application of it, and then you can't really tell because my fingers are because I'm spraying it up here and you can't see my finger moving here. For those who airbrush, for those who don't airbrush, what happens is with an airbrush, you push down to activate the air, and then well, I can't do this because it's got paint in it, so I'll show you with another one. It doesn't have paint in it. So you push down for the air, and then you pull back, and what that does is it opens up the end of the airbrush, and that's what allows the paint to come out. And the farther back you pull it, the more paint comes out. So what's really nice about doing something like this is I can put a little bit of paint on it, but then I can turn the paint off by pushing the trigger forward, but I leave the air on, and what that does is it dries that layer. So this is just air right now. So I can put on a real thin layer and then hit it with some air and keep the air moving across, and it dries really nice. Yeah, Cody, it's crazy. So we always have my family reunion on my dad's side. We always have it the last Saturday in July. And growing up, that's always like not the last big hurrah. You still have some time left in the summer, but when the reunions hit, you know that summer's already like 2/3 over. And I'm like, no. So I still get a little twinge every time the picnic comes up that summer's on its way out. I don't know why we call it a picnic, but it's really not. It's like a giant block party. It's a lot of fun. I hope you can see this. Is this still focused? I hope so. So you can kind of get a feel, this kind of grayish modeling up here. That's the sparkle that was on there. This is really blending in very, very well, and I'm happy about that because I wasn't sure. I was debating on whether to just continue to sand this and sand off all the sparkle and just kind of deal with it, but I did want to leave some of it. I was hoping I could blend into it, and I can. If you guys weren't here, or even if you were here, if this didn't work, I would actually end up wiping it all off and sanding off the sparkle because it just, it's at a point right now in this project where, it's easier to restart it than to kind of save it. So, what's up, Lewis? Lewis, this is a guitar pedal. So an effects pedal for guitar, and I'm putting a girl's eye on it, but I'm gonna do some kind of funky makeup tattoo-like stuff around her eye. All right, that looks good. That looks good for the first round. So what we'll do is pull this out now. We should be in good shape. So now I have this great, and that's how that works. So the tape holds it down like a magnet would and just keeps it nice and clean. So what that does now is that really that's the anchor for the whole painting now. So they'll kind of move around and work with that. All right, what to do next? Let's base this whole thing in. So next thing we're going to do is let's get the whites of her eyes in. Or no, let's get the blue in, then we'll get the white. So should we do the whole thing? No, we're going to do the white first. And this is also how it goes with me. No idea what I'm doing most of the time. It's fun. I think I'm going to... this is where I need Timothy John Luke Smith to tell me what the anatomical parts of the eye or their names, All right, so I'm going to cut out everything. The little pink part in the corner as well. And because I'm going to use kind of a grayish color to do that, and I can just easily modify that to pink. So it's easier to base it all in that gray. Let's jump into her lashes a bit more. There we go. What I could really do is base the whole thing, and because I could still push it around, but I really want this blue to be brilliant. Now she looks like she had too much to drink, but that's okay. We still love her. So line this up. Oh, no magnets. Okay, same deal again. Grab a little bit of loop or a little bit of tape just to help us out. Drop it in way up here because I don't want to put the tape on any of the fade because that paint isn't, the fade part isn't really stuck on very well. So if I put tape on that, it's going to come up. So I don't want that. All right, so now I can reline this up, get this in the right spot. It's lovely, and the tape is way up here, so I just kind of push it, and that'll hold it for me. It'll hold it enough. I'm gonna have to hold bits and pieces of it down while I'm working on it, but that keeps it, that gives me my third hand essentially. All right, I got flesh in that one, so I'm gonna leave the flesh color because I mixed up a lot of it, and I can use it again. So instead of dumping that out and starting over, I'll swap out. So let's do the gray with this. Okay. Grab some white again. So this is the Micron B. So grab a little bit of white with this. Micron B isn't, it, even the 1-to-1 mix in this is kind of a stretch. It really likes to paint super, super thin, but it'll work for this because I'm just basing it in. So we got that, and now I'm going to go down to the palette, and I'm just going to grab a tiny, tiny bit of black, just enough to kind of turn this into a little bit of a gray. I think I need a little bit more than that. Okay. Grab some of the thin black. How's that? A little bit more. It's going to look white, but it's actually gray. All right, that's perfect. That'll work out really well. Good. And it's the same deal here. You know, if you really look at a photograph, rarely ever, unless it's photoshopped, is someone's eyes white. And if you do it white, you don't have any room. You can't put in any highlights. You can't put in that glisten if it's white, because that's as bright as it gets. So, all right, here we go. Same deal here. Just going to go really light kind of passes until it's all covered in. As soon as we're done with this, I'm going to record episode 50 of the Open Studio, so it'll be fun. Get caught up on that. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Oh, let me do this. You guys can see up here. So if I spray this up here, you can see how gray this really is. Which if I showed it to you in here, you wouldn't believe that that's what color we're dealing with. And again, I know it looks horrifying right now, but trust me. All right. Good. Next is the blue. What are we going to do with the blue? All right, so here's where I'm thinking. So again, it's difficult to see because I've cleared and then sanded it, but again, this petal, the base of this petal has a lot of that silver sparkle in it. I kind of think I want some of that to show through the blue if I can, which would be really nice. So the two ways to go about this is if I'm just going to have it a blue eye, I could mix up some light blue and spray that in first. Modeling. Oh, Marshall, I'm Lewis. I'm going to keep calling you Marshall. I just want you to know that. I know who you are, but I see martial artistry and I just immediately default to Marshall. When people call me Leahy, it's okay too. So anyway, yeah, modeling with like a fade. Yeah, I mean, there's no way to get, there are two ways to get through that. Either you have to build that fade to saturation in a way, meaning it has to be like, if you're going from a light, like a really super light blue to a dark blue, you have to paint the whole thing in that light blue and then darken that paint a little bit and then start painting the fade and then darken a little bit more and paint a little bit less of the fade and a little bit, you know, continuing that process. That by adding layers like that, you won't get that modeling whereas you're trying to go from like one color to another and all you have is a really transparent paint. The only way to do that really is to make sure that it's super transparent, either with, you know, like a transparent base or like the UVLS or something. You really want to spread that pigment out so that you have a lot of control over it. Well, the reason why it's getting modeling is because it's going on really heavy and then you have to catch that little section up and then you go too heavy in that section, and so that's really what it is. So it's a matter of slowing it down. It does look like Adele's eye. Scott McKay. I'm glad Scott's here. Scott has a very, very cool live feed tonight, so you got to check him out. If you are from the UK or Europe, you just stay up late. He's got a great idea. It's awesome. You just got to see it. It's good. and it's skulls. So what more do you want? All right. So yeah, so back to this. Okay, so I really like this sparkle. I guess you kind of see it maybe on the side. Maybe not. I don't know. But it is. It's got this platinum-like sparkle to it. So I can try to save that and then do a transparent blue in the eyes. Or I can just go with a light blue and cover it and just have it look like a regular eye. But I think I'm going to try to salvage the white. So in order to do that, first thing I got to do is I got to make sure there's no overspray on it from the skin tone, because that's going to add a halo on there. So I'm just going to use an aggressive eraser to make sure any of the overspray is not on that section. Now the good news is, if I make this decision to try to use the base coat and it doesn't work, it just won't work. It's not like it's not going to ruin it. It just won't have that sparkly effect. It'll just look like the regular eye. But if it does work, when the light hits this, it will not only have the characteristics of like all those little, veins inside the iris, but it'll also kind of sparkle. So that's good. Yeah, they were good. It's going to be a good feed. So I still have travel lag, but I'm going to do my best to stay up and harass Scott tonight. All right, yeah, I can see it now. I mean, it's at a bad angle, but as I tilt this, see how it kind of like flashes like that? That's what I want to have happen with the eye. Now, again, this is a guitar pedal, and I think it's under $100 for the pedal. So by me doing this, it's not a guitar pedal anymore. No one's really they don't ever use these, they just display them. And you wouldn't really, it's not cost effective unless you're really into the art to do this. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So, all right, so the eye. Let's knock that out. So now that I have this in here, I'm gonna start just by, this is now essentially based for me. That's what I'm going to use for the base coat. If that didn't work, then I would have cut out the whole eye, like I'm about to do, and then just spray the whole thing light blue, and then go from there. So we're going to skip that spray the light blue part because we're going to use the sparkle that's here. All right. I'm actually going to use this copy because no, leave it. It's fine. Grab another copy. Grab my scissors. That somewhere, and that somewhere. It's funny, I do have places for everything, but I just like throw this stuff around. Actually, I don't like that. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm gonna move this a little bit here, so you guys get more of, you could see you don't need to see you don't need to see the tablet. You want to catch more of the it's because that cable's not long enough. There we go. You see more of the palette and stuff. There we go. It's probably better. Yeah, now you can see me throwing stuff around. All right, good. Try to keep my fat head out of the way, but it's not going to work because I got to get close to this. All right. Bloodshot eyes watching Scots. Yeah, no kidding. I need to, I don't have the time, but I really want to do like 2 more feeds a week. I want to do one for the Australians, and I want to do one for the West Coast of the U.S. But I don't know where to put them in, and frankly, I don't have the time. All right, so I cut out the whole eye, the whole iris. Get that out of here. Now this is what I would use, a template like this, to simply just base that in too, but I'm going to use it to paint the iris now. And I still have that little loop of tape up here, so we're good there. Line that up. Drop that in. We're good to go. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Keep some of these separate. Put those over there. Drop that. Don't need that. Okay. Cheers. All right, so again, this changes things. If I were to just base this all in blue, that would be the next step. But I want to have some of that sparkles, but I also want to have that light blue because it sets the stage. So that's what I'm going to start with. I am going to clear out this gray because this is a little bit too dark for this next step. I want the blue of her eye to be brilliant. So I could use that gray, but it's not going to be as brilliant as I want. So I am going to use straight white for this as a base. So I'm going to just clear this out of the brush real quick. And jump to blue, white, sorry. 5 feeds a week. Yeah, Cody, yeah, it's not going to happen. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not going to happen. I would love the social media side of it to be, you know, to warrant that kind of activity, but it's not right now, and that's okay. But yeah. All right, what are we going to use? Let's use sky blue or daylight blue. I keep calling it sky blue. I don't know why. That's awesome, Lewis. Yeah, I don't know. You know what, the newest, and if you saw it, and thank you for the comments on the new feature, which is the Model Monday. That's my new old hobby, and it's not going to be a regular feature. Might be, I don't know, but it's not planned to be a regular feature. But again, I was sitting there and I was working on it. I'm like, you know what? It makes a lot of sense just to record my thoughts and have like a little diary of it. So that's how that kind of came up. There's going to be a lot of airbrushing in that too as well. All right, so there's the white, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take some opaque daylight blue on the paintbrush, not a lot of it, and I'm going to come up with just the light blue. And the daylight blue is beautiful. It's like a really sky blue, not as Caribbean, not as green as some of the blues. So it's just a good all-around blue, especially for mixing sky, which is kind of why I call it sky blue all the time, because that's what I use it for. Yeah, I'm super happy with the schedule of content now on YouTube. I keep saying it, this 2023 was the year that I was going to kind of put all that together, and I'm really happy with where it's at right now. So I just got to keep it going. Oh, Lewis, that's awesome. And in reverse too, I'm glad that that there are a lot of feeds now that I can kind of keep up with. Awesome. All right, so there's get that out of there. So there's the light blue. So now what I'm going to do, again, normally I take this color and spray the whole thing and then start with the deeper blue. This is going to be totally annoying. It is going to be totally annoying. So we're going to do a couple things here. I don't want to fight the template through the whole thing. And I want this to kind of a soft look to it too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the blue to set the edge, and then I'm going to just remove the template completely. So I am going to just kind of run around the whole outside edge with this. Sorry for the screaming template. And if you haven't done it yet, get your bamboo meat skewers. They are awesome. So I've got one side that's flattened like a screwdriver and one part that's kind of pointed. They're great for holding down templates. Okay, that's good. So now again, to keep it from screaming at me, the template, I just remove it now. Just take it right off. It's going to be pretty, like I said, it's going to be soft in here, interactive in a way. So I'm going to, I don't mind if I get a little bit of overspray. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just kind of drag some of this blue up into the middle of it in little spikes. So this is where I'll be able to kind of leave that background in the lighter areas. Again, this brush is not built for thicker white, so. Thank you, Lewis. That's awesome. Yeah, I love the comments. You know, it's nice on YouTube because they really do pop up in a clean way so that I can always get to them. I hope to always be able to get to them, so that'll be nice. All right, so that's, well, I'm going to give it a little bit more. This is again where I was talking about, again, I'd love to be able to save that sparkle. If I can't, meaning if it's going to compromise the look of the painting to try to save that sparkle, I'm not going to do it. So I'm just going to add a little bit more blue so I have something for the next blue to kind of stand on. And what Lewis is talking about is huge. The YouTube algorithm that everyone talks about, I don't know how it works, but what I do know that is if people like your page, if they subscribe, certainly, if they comment on the content, that all just fires up the YouTube algorithm and spreads the videos around. So, of course, sharing it helps a lot too, but yeah, doing just those simple things helps so much. It's great. And I love that because that means the way that you get a video out there is you have to put up good content. And I love that. Like, I love, if I see something I really like it and I always comment on it. And, you know, certainly, you know, the ones I watch all the time I subscribe to, and that's how it's supposed to work. The value of the content is what earns the likes and the subscribes. So exactly, yeah. And on the viewer side of it, I understand, you know, if you click like on something, I know the next day all your whole, you know, suggested video list looks like what you clicked like on. So I make sure I like a lot of different things so that I get a lot of different things. And it actually, you know, you let the algorithm, as a viewer, you let the algorithm work for you. And that's a lot of fun. All right, so yeah, I have lost a lot of sparkle. There's nothing I can do, but I also don't want to run the risk of compromising the way this eye is going to look at the end. I want a brilliant blue. And if I really love the sparkle and want it, I can literally just take the Hot Rod Sparkle at the end and spray a quick pass over it and it'll be sparkly. So, all right, so we're going to go with that. Now I'm going to clear this out because I really want to use this brush for the next step, which is a little bit darker blue. And this will be actually very blue. It'll be the full daylight blue. All right, and I'll keep posting videos, but the biggest question is about all this UVLS stuff and the reduction. So the good news is it is super forgiving with this system. It's not like, oh my gosh, if you add a milligram too much of X to your paint, it's going to blow it up. It's not. If you add too much 40/50 to it, it's just going to be really transparent. If you add a lot of reducer to it, it's going to be weaker, but it'll still, you know, kind of do the job as long as you know what you're doing. The bottom line is you're not going to burst into flames. So that's wonderful. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the daylight blue, and see how light this is. The daylight blue is going to be my next darkest color in here. Actually, no. Before I do this, because I'll grab a little bit of white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten the white parts of the eyes. I'm going to put the highlights in on the whites first, and I'll tell you why. If I go and finish the iris, and her iris it's really dark around the outside edges. That's really super dark blue, which is what I want. If I finish that and then I lighten the iris, the white parts of her eyes, the sclera, Tim, I knew the name of it. If I put the highlights in on the whites, I'm going to get overspray on the dark blue. So if I put the highlights in on the whites now before I get to the dark blue, I'll just cover that. So that's what we're going to do. Air Todd, what is up, buddy? What's happening? That's awesome, man. Thank you for showing up. All right, so this is just straight white. There's a little bit of blue on the inside of the cup, but it's not really part of the white. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those highlights on the gray. And now I don't have to worry too much about getting close to the blue. I can just kind of work with it. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the a little bit stronger white on the pink part, just because that gray is going to fight the red a little bit. So I'm going to kind of paint in the details on the white part, or start to paint in the details on the tear ducts here. Did anyone else see we lost a great South Florida artist on Tuesday, David Oh, I didn't know, Cody. Lebo. Oh, man. And I don't know his work either. And that's, I feel bad about that. So when we're done, I'm going to do my homework. All right, so the back side of his or her eye, the other side, same deal. Just kind of start working in the highlights on that. Here's the other thing too. This is where it gets difficult a lot of times too. Color value is relative. So I'm basing, you're kind of looking at this and that looks awful gray. Once I get the everything else going on around it, even the iris, when I'm done with the iris, you're going to see how light that gray really looks. Right now it looks very dark because we're judging it against this really super light peach color. So just about there with this. Feel good about that. Feel good about that. All right, good. All right, so I could add blue to this and keep going, but I'm not. I'm gonna clean this out, and I'm gonna, again, I wanna use just the daylight blue straight out of the bottle for this. So I'm cleaning airbrushes. Cheers. One of the things I did when I was hanging out at Hanson's, Keith Hanson's, he was finishing clearing the buffer that I'm doing for rupees for the SEMA, and we were just kind of hanging out waiting for clear to dry essentially. And so I did spa day on a bunch of his brushes. He's got some really great brushes. It was a lot of fun. And that's where that paint stick came from. I wanted to test one of them out, and he had a paint stick sitting there, so we did some skulls on it, which was fun. Oh, I have it right here. I thought I lost it. I didn't think I lost it, but I didn't know where it was. This is the other one I'm going to be doing for them. It's called the Kingpin. Same exact case, even with the same drill holes, which makes it convenient. But you can see if I kind of tilt this at the right way, you can see how thick that UV screen printing ink is that they use. This stuff is like, it's seriously dimensional. It's crazy. And it's bulletproof too. I mean, yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet, but I'll figure something out. As far as, I'm probably going to sand the whole thing off. I mean, this has the same kind of metallic powder coat. It's like red, and then there's like an orange, really fine orange metallic kind of flake in it. But that's going to be, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm going to just strip the whole top of this and have the image. So this one was easier to kind of fudge. All right, let's get that blue going. So blue, oh, I got it on the palette. All right. So with this is what I was starting to get into before I got distracted. I'm going to use the opaque daylight blue, which doesn't really need any UVLS. You don't need to add it to it. You just reduce and go. But I have this kind of spiked version of the reducer. It's 1 part UVLS gloss 40/50, and the rest is reducer, 10 parts reducer. So I'm going to use that to reduce this color. And it just, you could add 40/50 to the opaque colors, but it's kind of redundant because the binder in the UVLS matches the binder that's in the opaque colors. So, I mean, you can add the UVLS to it if you want to make it more transparent, but you don't really have to add it to make it stick. However, it doesn't hurt either. That's what I'm talking about. It's seriously not rocket science. You can't really blow it up. If you love adding 40/50 to everything and you add it to the opaque colors like white and black, it's just gonna make it more transparent. That's it. Probably help it stick better too by default, just because both of them work so well. So there we go. So that's full on daylight blue with a little bit of reducer in it. Todd, I am back home. I got home last night. It was a reasonably uneventful drive. The weather was really good. There was only a couple spots. They're always working on some part of that drive. I take Route 80 across most of, or all of Pennsylvania, most of the trip. And it's a big trucker's route, so they really keep it up. So there's always usually some kind of construction going on. All right, see if this is too thin now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set that edge again, because I kind of have white overspray on there now. Again, that would have been on the dark blue. There we go. Line that up. The other thing too, well, it's all right. I was going to say, I didn't do a really great job at cutting that out. I could run over and grab my drafting circle template, which has all the different sizes on it. But a good template, I'm probably not going to have the one I need. I don't. A good template is usually the way to go when you're really trying to get a good circle. You know, this is good enough because of the parts that are showing. It'll work on. What's up, JC? All right, so now I've got the edge set, so now it's nice and clean again. Do I need to darken this up again? Let me see, hold on. Move this up a little bit because we're working on the eye. Let me see if it needs to be a little bit darker. See if this helps. There we go, try that. We'll give it a little bit more light too. There we go. All right. Do I want to do, yeah, we'll do that first. All right. Sorry, I'm a little bit scatterbrained. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the paintbrush. I'm going to put a few of these lines in first with the paintbrush. This is going to go on cleaner, more control, and give me something to work with the airbrush instead of trying to do all of this with airbrush and when it doesn't even need to be. That's the other thing I have to do. I have to get something to rest my hand on. Okay, good. So now I can start adding these super thin lines, and then what I'll do is I'll end up adding to these with the airbrush to kind of blend them out. All right, Todd, have a good one, man. Thank you for coming by. That's awesome. I didn't get to jump onto Tim's feed last night because I was just wrecked. There was no way I was staying up or could stay up. But yeah, Timothy John Luke Smith has a good feed on Wednesday. You can check Nub out on Tuesday. Of course, Scott McKay is on Thursday nights on YouTube. A lot of fun. All right, so the center of the pupil is about here, so that's kind of the spot I'm aiming for with all these. It's also why I wasn't overly worried about the not exactly perfect cut with the stencil for the iris here. I knew I'd be working on the edge with the paintbrush, so I can straighten a lot of it that way too. And it's helpful to have that little, dot in the middle. You just kind of give you something to look at out of the corner of your eye while you're putting all these lines in, so you're not like, totally wonky with them. Works out well. All right. Yeah, you won't be able to see any of that base coat underneath, but I'm okay with that. It's fine. It was a good try. The sparkle isn't as important as having the eye look right, And again, if I really want sparkle in there, I can just add it in after too. For the paintbrushing, I think I've said it before, I just use the 4011 reducer for the paintbrush as well. It works really well for both, which is nice because they used to have the 4012, which I found worked better with the airbrush for most colors until it started seeding things like black, separating out the black. But I found the 4011 always worked better with the paintbrush. If I used 4012 on the palette, it would always seed the paint. It would just separate the paint, which is, it's bad. JC, yes, this is the Winsor Newton Series 7 watercolor brush, and this is a 00. So when they kind of switched the formulation of the 4011 so that it worked really, they build it so it's designed to work with the airbrush anyway. They'd never design it to work with the paintbrush. It just happened to work better with the paintbrush. But when they kind of adjusted the way that the 4011 worked with the airbrush, that was great because that took having to have two reducers for me down to one, and that's always nice. I'm always about streamlining. Absolutely. All right. So her eye is super blue. I think I want to add a little bit of green to it somehow, but not like crazy green, just something. Let's grab phthalo green. Phthalo green is like a real good secondary green. I mean, it's really green, like traffic sign green. So we'll grab a little bit of that. Oh, that's a lot of paint everywhere. Lovely. Lovely. And I swear, I know it's pigment based, but it feels dye based. I mean, that's like stained my finger like it's, like it's a candy. It's crazy. And I need a tiny bit of this. So what I'm going to do on the palette is I'm going to mix up the green, but I'm also going to add a little bit of daylight blue to it. The daylight blue is opaque and the green is not. So I'm actually just tinting the daylight blue to add a little bit of, and what this does, it's not that I want green in here specifically, but what I don't want is I don't want just one value of blue. Because what happens is when you have anything right out of the bottle, like a painting that has like straight out of the bottle paint, it just looks simple. It doesn't look real. Because if you look at anything in this world, it's always, all right, so like a green traffic sign, like I was just talking about. It looks green to us, but if you walk up to that and you see the honeycomb of the reflective webbing in there, and the yellows and all the other stuff that goes into that, it's not just green. It's a whole bunch of other stuff going on there. So I find that if I paint right out of the bottle, it always looks like simple. It looks too simple. And, so I'll try to add other things into it. Or, simply, well, it's nice when you have the reference. You can use a reference to figure out what colors they are. But even if you don't, it's fun to add a bunch of different stuff in there that you wouldn't necessarily really think to add in. Violet would have been a great color to add in. Anything that would necessarily, really go with blue would work. Yeah, JC, you guys have been literally hammered with the heat. From what I've heard about the UK, it hasn't stopped raining, right? And it's interesting because when I was back home east on the East Coast, I guess they've been getting a ton of rain too. And I was surprised because, like I said, I grew up there, and I would always, I mean, you didn't have to mow the lawn in August in New England. It was dead already. But I was blown away getting home now and seeing that the lawns all look like springtime. They're all like green. It's crazy. Yeah, there you go. Dean nailed it. That's what I've been hearing, that it's been crazy nonstop. Meanwhile, here in Ohio, we haven't had any rain. So, last year and the year before, I would have to mow. I mean, I'm not even talking about how you would like to mow the lawn every week. You had to. It was crazy. This year, it's like I think I've done it 4 times. It's nuts. Oh, God. So that's just what you need, JC. God. Juan, what is up? All right, so the green adds a little something. I like it. All right. So there are 2 more stages for this section. I may not even use airbrush in this part. I really like the way that's looking. I got to add a dark blue, and I got to add the white back in, or the light part. So I'm going to use phthalo blue. So I'll use a wicked opaque phthalo blue. Put a little bit of this out. So it's just going to be real sparingly around the edge. Well, it's going to outline the edge, but it's also going to kind of creep into the lines, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be crazy. So outside edge, we're going to finish this outside edge and really get it sharp. My last chance to make sure it's round too. And phthalo blue works really, really well with daylight. It has kind of a tropical feel to it, that greenish feel to it. So between the phthalo green that I added in here and then the greenish feel of the daylight blue, this will work out really well. And it's the more intense the color, the less I tend to use of it. So this is really just to kind of pick out little areas to kind of darken up. If you use the same color everywhere or different colors everywhere all the time, it's eventually just going to be whatever color you ended with. You're not going to see all the other colors. So I try to really be careful as I move along to make sure I put less of it on there. Dean, this is a Winsor & Newton Series 7 watercolor brush. So it's my favorite brush. It's a double aught, although I like the single aught as well. And I also have a size 1 here. Those are the 3 sizes that tend to get used more than anything. Certainly this one's the most used, and then the 0. But there was a time when I was using the 0, all the time, and then just using this one every once in a while. And I flared that out a little bit there, so got a little bit ugly because I wasn't paying attention, but that's okay. Pouring buckets, great. We've been getting a lot of, actually I'm gonna use one of these magnets so it doesn't damage the underside of it. Oh, and I can use 2. Now I can put this wherever I want. Lovely. I guess we get a lot of thunder here in Ohio, so that's been fun. Yeah, Dean, for me it's the brush to get. It's a watercolor brush, but it works exceptional when you really thin acrylics down as well. And they're super, super durable too. This is white, by the way, so I'm using the white to kind of just correct any bump outs that I did with the blue by accident. I'm going to need white in a second anyway, so works out well. Good. So for white is going to add, these aren't highlights, they're more like little, I don't know how to describe, it's more like little flashes that are inside the iris. So again, just like the phthalo blue, it's super easy to put too many of these in and go nuts, and then, you know, then you kind of wash out the whole thing. So I got to be sparing with this, even though I don't want to be. It's a lot of fun, and it's like putting stars in at night, or, you know, something like that. It's just fun. Blue Series quadruple lot. That's crazy. I think those are those Cotman watercolor brushes, the blue ones. The Cotman brushes are really nice too, and very like economical too as well. Yeah, the point on these brushes is just ridiculous. It's crazy talk. Oh, one, it's a great question. So it all depends on the temperature that I'm looking for. So phthalo blue, and it feels, and even daylight blue has a lot of green in it. So say I'm using it for a sky. So if I'm doing like a tropical type of sky, like a warm, I want a really warm feeling in that sky. And I mean warm temperature wise, not like visually wise, because green is a cool color. But if the tropics, the sky has this greenish cast to it. So I'll lean towards phthalo blue or daylight blue. If I want a really cold feeling, then I'll go with cobalt blue. Cobalt blue is shifting more towards just straight up blue, or even a little bit to the purpley side, and that gives a real steel gray feel, and that just feels cooler. So that's kind of how I mess around with it. So here I want that warm tropical feeling in her eye, so I'll avoid cobalt, unless I was using it for like a couple really tight details or something. But overall, I want that greenish feel to it. Gosh. So Adrian, that's great. So you get, you know, super hot weather and then a ton of rain. So I'm sure the humidity is just lovely. So what the white does as well, and actually I shouldn't say just the white, every layer does this. So that first pass on this, you could see all the paintbrush strokes really clearly. Like you could see the actual strokes that I was doing. Every layer kind of blends on top of one another and makes those paintbrush strokes just kind of not really what they were originally. So they don't seem like it's just repetitive paintbrush strokes. It actually gives it a lot of life, which is great. And that's the complexity of kind of building it up. These super thin strokes on top of maybe some of the thicker strokes, and maybe some, you know, flecks of white in there too as well. Works out good. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, the UK has been getting their share, that's for sure. All right, the outside edge, I like it, but I think it needs to be a little bit darker. So let's put in some of that cobalt blue just to kind of show you what it does. And this is okay on the edge, and maybe a little bit on the inside, but not much. I don't want to do too much of this, because what will happen with the cobalt blue again is it's a cooler blue, so it's going to I'm going to show you on the palette. I'm going to try to show you on the palette, because it's easier when you see it spread out. So this is cobalt blue here. See how really like super blue it is, right? But oh, here it is down here. But the phthalo blue has kind of a more greenish cast to it, right there. So there's the, let's get a little light maybe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So there, yeah. So it's got more of a greenish cast to it, where the cobalt blue. See how cool that is. So that's what I'd use for, like I said, if I want to really like deep, like sky blue, like cold sky blue. That's what I ended up using. What am I doing? There we go. All right. So that being said, let's jump back to that now. I'm gonna make it closer for this part. Might be easier for you guys to see. Get in the right spot. How about that? Yeah, much better. Now you get the full effect. Now let's make sure we sharpen this up. Good. Okay. So I'm going to take some of the cobalt blue, but I'm actually going to add a little bit of black to it too as well. So this will even cool it off even more, because the opaque black has a lot of brown in it, and that really, it moves it away from that, you know, cool, that tropical green color, makes it more steel color, and that's what we want. So we're going to really set that edge now and give something for that edge to kind of hang on. With this color too as well, I can use this in the middle, like kind of with the spikes, but I got to be really careful not to put this everywhere. It'll darken up the whole eye quite a bit. And I want this eye to be really like brilliant blue, like crazy blue. That's good. Dean. Save yourself. It's awesome. Again, I can put some of these flecks inside, you know, but I got to be really, really careful. I don't want to get these everywhere, because it'll really kill the whole thing. But you can see the left-hand side now compared to the right-hand side, how it just, now it has that pop, and it actually pushes the inside blue color quite a bit more because I have that contrast now. I'm going to turn this again. Let's see if I can do this where you guys can see it, but I can get a good handle on it. I'm going to go this way, I think. Yeah, okay. So the edge first. And then I can pull it in. Pull in some of those little flecks. Last man standing, 100%. Can't help others. Or what is it? The airline thing, you know, put your mask on first before saving others. There's actually a ton of truth in that. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't push your way to the exit door, but but definitely you can't help everyone else if you're not around. So all right, this is lovely. This is lovely. All right, excellent. I'm happy with that. Do I want to add any airbrushing to that? Do I need to add any airbrushing to that? No. Oh, there is more blue though, but I can't put it until I put the pupil in. All right, let's put the pupil in, and then we can finish up the rest. What happens is the right around the pupil has a lot of the has a lot dark. Right around the pupil has a darker blue to it as well. So let's get that in. Do I have anything to work with that? No. So we'll figure that out. So let's get the pupil in, and then we can finish this up. Oh, there we go, JC. I'm sorry. It's a guitar pedal, a little teeny weeny effects pedal for guitar. It's a compressor, so. It's my buddies over at Coppersound. Great group. Why can't I talk tonight? They are a great group of guys. Holy crap. So with travel, it usually hits me the next day. I feel good right now, but I'm sure that's part of it, where my brain is like, we are going to shut off now. Although for me, it's generally not an excuse. I'm usually like this all the time. All right, this is going to be a rough pupil, but it's okay. The reason why it's rough because I'm having difficulty seeing the transition between the black and the blue, but that's okay too, because it's difficult to see means I have a lot of leeway. So let's put this here. I want to get it so you guys can see it. Like that. There's my template. Well, I could use black for this, so I don't need this anymore. Clear this out. I keep the beer back here, so every time I go to clean out an airbrush, it's like reward. You cleaned out your airbrush, have some beer. So I'm going to use black next, and this is just straight up black. Well, let's see. Let's go with something that's going to cover reasonably well. Let's do this one. But we're not going to use a lot of this, so all right, great. Opaque black. Let's get this lined up. So we really want to make sure this is lined up. This is straight up, straight up black. So this is going to absolutely, totally suck if this is not in the right spot. So we're going to take our time and double check, make sure. I think we're good. And of course, that doesn't reach. Why doesn't that reach? It is lined up. Yeah, it certainly is lined up. All right, we're going to go with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that, it just caught the edge of the tape. So what we're going to do is tape that in. How many beers have you had? No kidding, Adrian, not enough. Yeah, I get driving lag the next day, so I get super sleepy. But I feel, like I said, I feel really good, so I don't know what the hell my problem is. All right, I've got black in there now. This is lined up, we're good. Yeah, see, that's not lined up. Okay. But it is lined up. So what's going on here? All right, let me make sure I got the right spot here. I realize that that's not helping much either because my head's in the way. So we're going to turn that off so you don't have to watch the back of my head all the time. Before I do this, since that is off up to the left a little bit, I'm going to fix that before I go on. So the good news here is with a fix like this, so the amount of paint I just put on there, the black, is really, really minimal and it's really thin. So what that allows me to do is if I grab an eraser, I can just really lightly, you don't want to dig hard because I'll get down into the blue, but this will allow me to just kind of erase the black that I just put on there, like that. I learned to do eyes after reading an Edward Reed tutorial on airbrush art and action. Eyes are my favorite exercise. And Edward Reed is one of the best guys ever. Love Edward. He is awesome. I haven't heard from him in a while. He was doing a lot of digital stuff. But what a great artist. And just a nice guy he was too. All right, I'm not happy with this. Because I think this cutout is wrong. I think that's the problem. All right, let's do this. Where's mine? Let's see if there's anything close to this one. Yep, that's perfect actually. All right, so this is just a pre-cut template here, and it's got circles that actually match what we're looking at. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, that's the circle we need right there. Show you how we're going to do this. All right, but there's paint all over it. So this is reasonably transparent, the way this template is, but there's paint on it, so I can't see through it. So we're going to change that right now. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a paper towel here. And we're going to clean this template and get all the paint off it. I was airbrushing the back of your head. Nice. Sorry, you're gonna have to finish it up, the rest of it without. I'm gonna I have to come up with an idea for that other camera. It just always seems like it's not in the way. Before it was way out back and, you know, it's like too far back. But, you know, I'll figure out what to do with it. All right, so we'll clean this all off, get this totally clean and absolutely 100% totally dry. Because the only reason I say that is because I've done that too. Clean a template with the alcohol on it, put it on the painting, and then just screw up the painting. So you make sure it's totally dry. But now, what's lovely, slide that back over, put that back. Now I can actually see through this really well. So now what I can do is I can actually line this pupil up where it needs to go without having to screw around with the paper cut template. Yeah, Edward was amazing. I loved Edward's work because he was one of the few guys that really painted like the 50s pinup artists did, like Elfgren and so many of those 50s pinup artists. And Edward had that exact feel. Like he didn't paint just like them. He had his own style, but he could have been plucked out of the 50s. Where a lot of, especially when he was doing it, the late 80s, early 90s, things were being pushed in a more graphic, you know, graphic kind of way. So those even the pinups weren't quite the same. The Patrick Nagel type of pinup stuff. But Edward had this really classic 50s style that was just beautiful, and his understanding anatomy was fantastic. And you need that kind of understanding to do those kind of stylized paintings of people. He's just a genius. Just, oh gosh, I love his work so much. And again, I had the fortune, I was lucky enough to kind of go back and forth with him a little bit. And he is a really, really nice guy. So, all right. I just put a little piece of tape on this, not there actually, because that's not going to work. I'll put it, say, over here next to that hole. So when I get this close, I still have the tape on the pedal somewhere. It'll hold it in place. Stencil has a residue. No, oh no, that's just dust. That's fine. No, it wasn't wet. You'd know it if it was wet. You'd hear it from wherever you are. There we go. All right, right about there. So now I can push the tape down on here, and it's going to hold the template in place for me there, and we are back in business. I should have checked it, but we'll check it now. It's a little late to check it now, but yeah, that's perfect. That works. Yeah, that works. Okay, good. Nice. Okay. Yeah, right. No kidding. I could start over, but nope, that was nothing. That was an easy one. Ian, what's up, buddy? What's happening? Lovely. Yeah. I do have some overspray up here, but it's not gonna. So what happened is the black kind of got. There's a little halo of the template up here, right up here. So easy fix on that is Scotch-Brite, because this area right here, the peach, is full opacity. I couldn't do this on the edge where I started to fade it. Excuse me. But here I can definitely do that. And it's literally just kind of gently, essentially brushing off the overspray. The overspray has very little ability to stick. Middle of a thunderstorm. Jeez. All right, that's good. I'm very happy. So that worked out. All right. You can still see the halo of the screwed up one, the first one up here, but that's all covered with eyelashes. I'll show you. So it doesn't, that won't matter. So there's no need fixing it if, you know, you're not going to see it. Now, seeing the, again, this is why, you know, everything's relative. I feel like I need to darken the outside edge of the eye one more time. I may use the airbrush for that. Maybe. Yeah. But I do not want to use black. Black is not what I want to use there. So we'll get that out of there. And I'm going to use Phthalo blue. Again, I like that coolness. I like the variation in the blues. If I used the opaque, I'm sorry, I used cobalt blue. If I use the phthalo blue, it would just add to that green, and this will be nice. It'll just kind of balance it out. A couple drops of that, and again. Steve, so many nice folks from the UK. Yeah, it's the reason why I started doing this feed when I'm doing it, because they were and are great, and they were hanging out super late, and I felt bad. So when I was deciding on doing the second feed, I'm like, well, it's going to be UK time, and it works out well because we got our German friends, and I still have a bunch of friends from Norway, so it just makes a lot of sense to have a left side of the pond feed. Again, I got to figure out Far East, Australia, and even West Coast of the US. All right, so for this last cleanup, I think I am going to grab my circle template, my big circle template, unless I have one that just happens to have that right size. That's too small. The other one, the one I just had, is too big. Is it though? Actually, no, it isn't. Wow, look at that. Huh. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, so we'll use that one. All right, I take it back. I thought I'd have to get my Draftsman circle template, which has 1 million circles on it. Now we can watch while we swim. Oh my God, Ian, I know, crazy. You guys have been, you know what, and I would gladly take some of that off your hands. We have had no rain. Plus, where we are here in our area, there's a lot of clay. So when we get blasted with a thunderstorm that dumps, 2 inches of rain, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't soak in. It just runs off everywhere. It's crazy. So it's not good. Oh, I need the black in this. So I've got the cobalt blue in there, but again, like I did with the paintbrush, I'm going to add just a touch of black to it to darken it up. Now, what's nice about doing this too is anytime you mix, one tool on top of another, it helps to kind of, again, it gives it more complexity. It makes it more difficult it makes it look more real. It just makes it harder to figure out how it was done, and I'm a big fan of that. Birmingham is the Brit version of Venice. Oh no. All right. So this circle obviously doesn't go all the way around, so I got to be real careful that I'm not spraying this where it shouldn't go, but I'm just really concentrating on the edges once I get it to spray. I said once I get it to spray. There we go. That fish are drowning. Oh God. I'm terrified this is going to blast out on me. There we go. It wasn't really spraying, and I was waiting for it to just like eject everything all at once, which is, totally common. I'm going to add some reducer to this because this is not spraying the way I want it to. So again, this brush is really super picky. It doesn't like really thick paint. And the important thing with a brush like this, or really any brush, is you kind of, again, you reduce it for the brush. So if it's not spraying at all and it's, you know, you to pull the trigger all the way back, you got to reduce it. If it comes flooding out and it's uncontrollable, then so you have to either find thicker paint or get another brush. So that's better, much better. So this is just along the edge. It just ties together the edge. And be real careful not to get this, you know, kind of anywhere near the middle. And hopefully you'll see it when I pull it off. Well, you can kind of see it through the template now. It adds just that level of sharpness on there, and darkens it up and ties it together too, all at the same time. There we go. Buy a boat and be an Uber driver. That's excellent. What's great about this color too, because it's a lot cooler, as I fade, I'm fading just a little bit off the edge. So as I fade it into that greenish color, it creates even another color that's kind of in between cool and warm. So it's a win all around. All right, here we go. So that is where we're at right now. And that is good. That makes me happy. Makes me happy. I just got rid of my tape. That's all right. All right. What time is it? You guys still hanging in there? You guys still good? We'll go for another, let's go for another like 10 minutes. That'll be a 2-hour feed. I think that's probably good. To give you an idea, to get to the point where I want to get to, this is probably going to be about 10 hours worth of work on this pedal. So yeah, so it's going to be fun. All right, I've already got the, that peach color mixed up. So we're going to run with that for a second. What I got to do is I got to start basing in the rest of the eye before I get into, like, you know, heavy duty, you know, like eyelashes and things like that. So let's do that. If it carries set fishing trips. Yeah, from your front yard. That's great. Gosh. All right. So next step, so what I got to do next is just kind of figure out where these shadows and folds are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a template for that too, but it's definitely, and I talk about this a lot, it's definitely more of a drawing guide. And I'll try to cut this off over here so you can see it. For instance, I want to kind of show myself where this whole shaded area is down below her eye. I'm not cutting out like individual wrinkles or folds. I'm cutting out the whole area like this. Now if it fades off into nothing like it does here on the bottom of her eye, it just fades away to nothing, I'll leave that attached as just a reminder that you know, it's not a hard shape. So I'll just kind of pull that aside. If it's too obnoxious, I'll cut it off, but then still fold back the tab, just so I know that. Again, on this one, it's not so crazy because there's not going to be too many of them, but on a template where there's a ton of them, by doing that, it really helps me remember what's a fade and what's not. If I cut out the shape, I just don't remember. All right, so for this complex area above her eye where all the folds are, I'm going to take each fold individually, and it's the same deal here. So it fades really beautifully into nothing here, but it's really crisp over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this whole area like this. Essentially, yeah, why not? This whole top of this thing, just pull it right off like that. So that'll give me the top fold and it'll give me the bottom fold. Now, unfortunately, that's all I can really do with this template. I really can't do too much more. Actually, no, you know what? If I want to be sneaky, this little triangular fold right in here on the top, I can get that too. So we just cut that out. And again, this is another one that I'll fold up because it fades away to nothing really. So I'll just pull this back like this. And that's what I got. Again, this becomes a drawing guide, not a template. It's important. Astral says, keep going. You got it. All right. I'll run till, you know, I don't know, 2-ish, 3-ish, something. 9-ish, you guys. All right. Again, here we go. It's real important. And I do this all the time. I need tape now because I got rid of my tape. Again, with this thing. So 2 things will weaken paint. Back up a little bit so you can see it. 2 things will really weaken paint, not let it stick. One is adding too much reducer to it, which you can do. Like if I wanted to put in super fine airbrush details on this you know, the iris, and I wanted to use just black through like that Micron B, I could add 20 parts reducer to 1 part paint and put in these really gentle little black details with the airbrush. The reason why that works is because I can clear over it in the end, and it'll be all locked in. Those super thin strokes will be just melted into the clear. I can't tape on it because those things will come right up. So that's the first thing that will weaken the paint. The second thing that will weaken the paint is, even if it's the right viscosity, if I put it on super thin, like up here where it fades away into the base coat, it really isn't holding on very well there. There's not enough surface or you know, there's not enough bonding of the paint to kind of hold it together. So if I put tape across the top of this and pull it off, there's a good chance I'll pull paint off of this. That's important when I'm using these templates, because I don't want to put tape up here to hold the template. Put it on a place where I know there's a lot of paint, like right here. So, all right. Or same thing, since this has no, I took the top off, I got to put it down below. So I'll put it someplace where I know there's a lot of paint, which is down the bottom. All right, now we can line it up. Good. Keep going. Student wife wants to talk to me. Help a guy out. Dean, this next hour or 2 is going to be really important. So I need you to hang around. It's going to really be make or break. So I want you to, you know, kind of be ready for this. How's that, Dean? Is that terrible? She's shaking her head now. She doesn't believe me, and I don't blame her. All right, next up. So remember, way back from the beginning, I still have all the light flesh color mixed up. So all I'm going to do is add a tiny bit of, I'm going to use it, again, same thing. It's complexity in the skin tone. So if I add a little bit more opaque, no, what am I talking about? If I add a little bit more of the red oxide to this, it's just going to add, you know, a little bit more, you know, orange to it. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of burnt umber that'll change this color while darkening up at the same time. So it'll just give me something a little bit different than what I just had, which is nice. So I'm going to grab burnt umber. Right into Scott's feed. That would be a long day, man. What is it, 3 o'clock here? I'd have to go for another 5 hours. I could get most of this done if I did that. Or 6, no, he goes on at 8:30. So, yeah, 5.5 hours. Yeah, I could almost get it done. But you guys wouldn't get an open studio tomorrow if I do that. And I don't want to do that to you. All right. A little bit of burnt umber. Mix that in here. I may need a little bit more. The white is super strong. Burnt umber is not really as strong. So yeah, I'm gonna need a little bit more. Yeah, just gonna go for it. There we go. Yeah, that's much better. He's off the hook. Oh, JC, I know, but I'm having so much fun with that, and I really want to get that painting done. Because, like I said to you, I think I told you guys all, the next open studio is going to be a razor blade painting. I'm really looking forward to having that part of open studio. So having an entire razor blade painting from beginning to end would be nice. All right, so I mixed that, but again, that original color is still from here to here. So what I need to do is back flush this paint a little bit. Just cover the end and gently pull the trigger back like that. and then that will mix up, that'll push all this original color back into the color cup. So that done it. Great. Excellent. Yeah, JC, it's oh no, I see what you're saying. Excellent, JC. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. Oh God, Ian. Oh God. All right. So now I need my reference again because I got to make sure I don't get this everywhere it shouldn't be, which would be bad. So I'll grab another one since I just used my copy. All right. Nice. That there, that's better. Now I can see what I'm doing. All right, so fortunately this part of her eye, you know, in the inside crease, there's a lot of, it's dark there. So I'm gonna start there and just kind of get a feel for this color first. And then once I get a feel for it and how it's spraying, I'm gonna move it out. I probably shouldn't use this brush for this because burnt umber doesn't really like to spray very well. So I should use the, oh no, I get the Micron C. I'm losing it, guys. I am out of it. I thought I had the B in my hand. Great. All right, so for this section, God, for this section down here, remember this is a, like I said, it's a drawing guide. So I'm not gonna spray it like a template. I'm actually just gonna spray the inside of it. It tells me where to go, you know? I'm also not gonna spray it out to final, you know, the final color either. So now when I pull this, I should have a good idea where things are supposed to go. You see that? All right, so the next one is, I should probably do that before I do that. Yeah, I will. Did I? Yeah, I'm gonna bump up this edge on the bottom of her eyelid here though a little bit. Once you get it once, it's easy to realign it. That's the nice part. So you can check it and you don't have to worry about, you know, being in the wrong spot because you can see what you just painted. So it's a lot quicker. So the bottom edge of this dark area, or the top edge of this dark area, is really stark up against the light edge of her eyelid on the bottom. So I'm going to really darken that up a little bit. Like that. Good, much better. Okay, good. All right, so now let me just grab the other folds. So it's basically rinse and repeat from here. Since I can't cut all the folds at once, this, you know, just works this way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this fold in here, this real thin fold that's right in the middle of everything, to kind of get the top edge of her eyelid in. Great big jug on the top of his brush. Oh, nice. Yeah, and Ian, I've done like, you know, magazine articles on the razor blades and how-tos and things like that. But you know, with this open studio, it's really nice because you're literally there the entire way. Like there is no, and then I did this while you were gone. You know, it's none of that, which I think will be really fun for the razor blades because there is. Just like, kind of like this painting has been, there is a lot of back and forth. There's a, oh, that didn't come out right, you know, kind of thing. And there's a lot of fixing, and that's really why they take as long as they do, because you're really just wrestling with it the whole time. So it makes for an interesting painting, for sure. Nice, Ian. Have a good one, Ian. You're a good man. All right. Same thing, folds at the bottom or the ends, because, you know, I want to fade this out. I want to make sure that I don't put this in the wrong spot. The other thing that makes this really easy to line up is this top edge back here is the top of that little spike right there. So that makes it easier to line up to start. And then I just have to pick another point of it and we'll be good. Did I lose the tape too already? I did. What did I do with the tape? It's still in the back of the, there we go. I can put this tape way up here because, off of the fade, because this template is full size. All right, one more time with less suck. If you guys are interested, and I hope you are, what I'm going to do is I will pick this up on Monday. I'll do this pedal on Monday Night Live too. So that way you'll get a good, at least 3 hours of this painting for real. All right, that looks good. I did tilt this down and I didn't realize I did that. It's all right though. Ultimately, it won't matter. There we go. All right, and it's the same thing. It's just putting this in light enough that I can see it. That. And that's it. All right. As a final, the way we'll end this up, I'll kind of show you what I'll end up doing next. So now I've got the kind of layout for it. I can see what's going on. And with this is a young lady's eye. She's got very few, I don't think she's got any wrinkles at all. The only wrinkles are the folds in her skin. So this is super smooth. Ah, JC, that would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. Even, I mean, I post them all too, so they're all up there. See, I don't know if it'll busy up the channel here if I post them here as well, you know, repost them, but yeah, it'd be nice to have you there. All right. So I've got everything in there. I've got a good color to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start, now that I know where everything is, I can start adding in some of the other areas of shading. Oh, well, there's another magnet on here because this reference is flopping around. So I start with the general areas, like the deeper areas, like obviously the crease, the inside corners of her eye here are really dark. So that's a good place to start. You know, again, it gives me a chance to try out the paint, make sure the paint's flowing really well. If I need to adjust it, then, you know, now's the time when I'm working in an area that's going to be a lot darker than it is right now. So that's good. And once I kind of get a feel for it, then I can start moving out to some of the more delicate areas. That's it, can't hold on no more. Wife's going to blue in the face with anger. Oh, Dean, thanks for jumping by. Dean, give her a big hug for me and tell her thank you. Tell her you did it for me, because you did. That's awesome. I appreciate you being here, buddy. But you get the idea. So what we'll do on Monday is we'll pick it up right from this spot. I'm not going to work on this anymore until Monday. And then what's going to happen is we'll put the darker details in, those sharper folds. And then, again, it's a back and forth process to kind of get, you know, everything rolling. Where it's going to end is with the eyelashes and, you know, the details like that. So that's what we got. I think last but not least is I got this cool color in here. And I've already got things, you know, kind of lined up. I'm going to indicate where her eyebrow is going to be because that's going to save me a little bit of work on Monday. So I'm just going to cut out her whole eyebrow here, not worrying about individual hairs or anything, just the whole eyebrow. And again, this piece lines up with the top because I use this cutout already. So this will give me a good idea where her eyebrow is going to be. And again, I'm not going to hose this down. I'm just going to kind of give myself the indication. Like that. That's awesome. I'm happy. I'm really happy. Let me switch you guys around. Not switch you guys around, but I'll slide this around so you can see it more head on, which you guys haven't been able to yet. Let's do, oh, come on, man, with the, there we go. Back this up a little bit. I'm going to lighten it up too a little bit. Back it up to about here. There we go. This piece of tape off. I'm going to lighten this up just a hair because you guys have a ton of light on this. There we go. So that's what we got so far. Yay! That's it. So yeah, so that's a great start. Again, you know, like I said, with something new like this, it's always a challenge to try to figure out, whatever is going on. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done all the skin. I should have finished the blue around her eye first, but that's all right. That's an easy fix, or an easy add anyway, and that's what we got. All right, cool. You're learning after 30 years. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to, what am I going to do? Switch to this one. You got the camera right in the way. But that's okay. Move that out of the way. Like that. So there we go. So thank you. It's good to be back in the Ohio. Again, I'm going to, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to jump on the Open Studio. So we are on episode 50. So I've been following it. It's really episode 49 because I misnumbered them somehow. But still, we're getting close to 25 hours on that painting, and still got a long way to go. So it's been a long painting, but it's also been a lot of fun too. So hopefully you check that out. I don't know when the next Model Monday will be. It's whenever I really get a chance to mess around with that. And again, it's not really like a how-to with that because I'm not skilled enough to be pulling off how-tos unless you want to see me screwing up on building models. I can handle the painting part, but the building part is a new old trick for me. So that's what's going on with that. And everything else is rolling. So the shorts are going to change. My little short videos every day. I've been doing a painting every day. I'm going to change that up to kind of at the end of the day talk kind of thing. Just kind of let you know what happened during the day, and that's the way the shorts are going to go. And that's all I got. So thank you all for hanging out with me. You guys are awesome. Love you all. And thanks for clicking that like button and doing all that stuff you do for the YouTube algorithm. All right. Monday, come back, Facebook. Let's do it. And I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Thanks a lot.